Hello, and welcome to yet another virtual event with Tattered Cover. My name is Adam. I am the director of events here at this wonderful bookstore that's been around for 50 years. And I want to thank all of the readers out there virtually who are watching it live or watching it later. It's thanks to readers like you who have kept us around for half a century. And it's also thanks to writers like the ones we have tonight who have continued to release books and let us sell them. And independent bookstores are important. So we thank you for all of your support, no matter how big or small it is. If you are interested in more virtual events throughout the rest of the year and then onward into 2022, or if you're in Denver and want to do an in-person event and come see our story, check out tattercover.com/event. So that's where you'll find all of our events. Tonight, we're having what we dubbed a winter romance panel. We have 3 authors who have books out now that are fun, sexy, humorous, and we also have a moderator who has a few books and then a book coming out next year. They're all in the same publisher, so I'm glad we brought them all together. I'm going to introduce the moderator, Lisa Rayne. She is an award-winning author. She graduated from college with a bachelor's degree in comparative literature and went on to obtain a law degree. She practiced intellectual property, entertainment, and media law for many years before becoming a writer. She started her career writing contemporary romance and won 4 Emma Awards, 2 in 2016 and 2 in 2017. Her first sports romance debuted on the Amazon bestsellers list. She's always looking for something new. Lisa is excited to just share. The bio says she's excited to put her sexy, banter-laden spin on historical romance. She's currently in the Midwest. Lisa, thank you so much for moderating tonight. I'm going to hop off and let you take over. But congratulations on all your past success and I'm sure future success.
Well, thanks, Adam. I appreciate it. All right. So he just mentioned a lot of things. I am just moderating the panel. My upcoming book, he talks about, I'm trying something new, historical. So next year I have a historical coming out, but I have a panel for you tonight with 3 authors with some fabulous contemporary romance, a little bit of rom-com going on. So I'm going to introduce them one by one and let them tell you a little bit about yourself, and then we're going to chat. So I'm just going to start with Robin. Robin Bielman, are you out there?
Hi, everybody. Yep, I'm here. I'm Robin Bielman, and I write sweet and sexy contemporary romances. My book, The Wedding Crasher and the Cowboy, just released a few weeks ago. I live in Southern California, born and raised here in California. And what else can I tell you? I have an adorable dog, a great family, and I'm really happy to be here with my fellow authors tonight. Thanks.
Excellent. Great. We also have for you Constance Gillam. Constance, are you there?
I'm here. Hey, how are you guys?
Hi.
Hey.
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I am a writer of mystery, suspense, and I currently have a rom-com entitled The Hookup Dilemma that released last week. Very excited about it. It's my first rom-com, so I'm very interested to see what readers think of it. I live in the South, the sunny South, which is not sunny today, and which is a little chilly for us, but I love it down here. And I'm originally from the Midwest. I don't like the snow, so I'm very happy to be here. And I have 3 children grown, and I have 5 grandchildren, and I have a part-time dog, and that's an interesting story by itself, but I'm happy to meet everybody and tell you a little later about the hookup dilemma.
We got to come back to that temporary dog. But first, let's get Elle on the floor with us. Elle, are you out there? Elle Cruz.
Hi, I'm here. Hi, nice to see everyone. Hey, okay, a little bit about myself. Okay, well, my name's Elle, and I'm a steamy contemporary romance author. I also live in Southern California, and I have 2 kids. I actually have a degree in English, but I now work in the medical industry, and I work almost exclusively with geriatric patients. I love the elderly. They're my favorite population. What else do I do? Not very much else to me. That's basically it. But my new book, my debut novel, How to Survive a Modern Day Fairy Tale. It actually comes out, it's up here. It actually comes out in 1 week. So I'm really excited. The release date is November 30th. It'll be available as paperback, ebook, and audio. And it's a really fun story. And I hope that people really like it. So that's about it.
Well, I'm going to talk a little bit about these titles, first of all, because I really love all of your titles. And to me, there's a lot to a book that makes you want to pick it up when you have a great title. Before we do that, I just want to mention, Elle mentioned her book will be coming out next week, Tuesday, is that right?
Oh, so
Elle?
yes, yeah, next Tuesday. It's November 30th.
On November 30th. Constance's book actually came out last Tuesday, so it's
That's
available
correct.
now. Robin's came out at the end of October, so hers is also available now. So go ahead, buy the book. Robin's book is there for you to get. Constance's, and Elle, pre-order so that it drops as soon as the release day hits. So just a little shout out. Now let's talk about these titles, ladies. First of all, I love them all. Hookup Dilemma, I love that. How do you not like a book called The Wedding Crasher and the Cowboy? Like, and then Modern Day Fairy Tale. So we're gonna start. Can you each of you tell me where the inspiration for your titles came from? Let's start with Robin.
The inspiration for the title actually was my publisher that came up with that awesome title. I came up with the whole wedding crasher and the cowboy scenario, and the book takes place on a ranch, but I had titled it something different as I was writing. And then once we got closer to it being published, we thought, hey, how about this title instead, The Wedding Crasher and the Cowboy? And I loved it. I thought it was just great. And it really tells you in the title what the book is about, The Wedding Crasher and the Cowboy. And it's an enemies to lovers story. And it was just a lot of fun to write.
That's cool. That's cool. Constance, what about you?
The title tells you everything about the story. The two main characters, they meet in a bar. He insults her in a joking kind of way. She takes offense until she realizes it was a joke. The chemistry is really hot. They decide to take their show across the street to the Ritz, and they have a hot night of sex. It's goodbye. Don't want to see you anymore, But of course they do, because they find out that they're on opposite sides of a legal battle. So that becomes the dilemma. And the dilemma is also because they're falling in love. And how do you fall in love and be on opposite sides of a legal battle? So
A lot of fun. So tell us about this modern day fairy tale and why they got to survive it, Elle.
I know, right? It's, when I first I came up with the title. I'm the one who devised it. And when I first came up with it, I thought it was way too long. Well, the reason I chose it to begin with was because when I was writing this book, I already knew that it was a fairy tale allegory. It was Cinderella. Cinderella is one of my favorite fairy tales. So I wanted to somehow put my own spin on it. It's a very loose retelling. It's not by the book exactly, but I just figured in the title, I wanted to pay homage to fairy tales. So I wanted to put that somewhere in there. And it's kind of, oh man, how do I say this? The story has a lot of ups and downs. And the main character is kind of a victim of her own internal monologue and her anxieties. So she's literally trying to survive this fairy tale she gets stuck in, because to her it's too good to be true and she doesn't believe any of it. So that's her trying to survive this fairy tale. So that's where it pretty much came from.
That's really kind of fun. So you told us that there's a little bit of you, right? You still love Cinderella, so you let a little bit of you come in. So let's talk a little bit about that. So Robin, Wedding Crasher. You crashed a lot of weddings in your life?
Only about a dozen, not too many.
Got this inspiration.
I have not crashed a wedding, but I do have to say that I wouldn't be opposed to crashing a wedding. However, my husband and I did have 2 people crash our wedding. So so I've been the wedding crashee. I don't know, not the wedding crasher. So yep, 2 people crashed our wedding. We still laugh about it, and it was fun. But no, I haven't crashed a wedding. This has been a big topic people are talking about all the time, and a lot of people are split on it. Some people are like, nope, I would never do it. But I don't know. I think I would if the situation presented itself, I might. I didn't do it for research. I should have done it for research, but I didn't. Darn it. I missed that chance. So
missed that chance. You did. So Constance, what I want to know is I know that.
No, I've never done a hookup.
We should have had the game card, right? Have you ever, never
have I ever.
Oh, darn.
I'm kind of living my fantasy through this character.
Okay, you have a hookup, but if the hookup, I'm assuming is at the beginning because they got to hook up, go separate ways, find out about the legal battle. So tell us, is this steamy? What is your heat level in this novel? Closed door? Or are we still
no.
steamy?
It's very steamy. I was trying to think of a good analogy, but it's very steamy. There are no closed doors.
Okay, because I'm thinking with the title like Hookup Dilemma, I don't know that you could do closed door. That might be like false.
No.
So Constance's book is for those who like steamy reads. Okay. Elle, what's your heat level?
Oh, I'm very proud to say that it's probably almost like probably 3 to 3.5 chili peppers out of 5. So I've been told, I mean, I intentionally wrote it that way. And the feedback that I've been getting, people are very happy with it. That's my targeted audience, the people who like the steam in their romances. It's definitely not closed door. So it's kind of funny because when you look at the cover, it doesn't look like that. But when you open it up, you're like, whoa. Pleasant or unpleasant surprise.
Nothing wrong with a little steam. Everybody has their preference on the chili pepper scale. I like that. Robin, what's your chili pepper scale then?
Probably, I think around the same. My book is not closed door either. But I wouldn't call it super steamy. So probably not as steamy as Connie's. But there's some steam in it.
There's some steam. So we got open door romance, one on the ranch with a cowboy, one in the middle of the city with an issue, and fairy tale dilemma. What's your setting, Elle? What's your setting like?
Oh, the setting, I guess I would have to say it mainly takes place in the area that I live in around Southern California, some parts near the LA, Los Angeles area. So yeah, that's basically where most of it takes place. Yeah, and it's the hero is a billionaire. He's kind of a nerdy but hot billionaire looking guy. So
let's talk a little bit about you. We talked about these characters, and I'm asking you if there's any of you in these stories. But let's take it one level further. Okay, is there any of you in any of the characters in these books? And if so, what character and what part of you do you think you kind of seeped into that character? Who wants to start? Connie, you're laughing. I think you got a story.
My little brain is just going like a hamster on a wheel. But no, I purposely tried to create a character that was not me. She has a lot of what I would like to have. She's she's strong. I'm strong too, but she's strong. And she goes after what she wants. She doesn't take any, she's a pleaser, but only for her family. Anybody else that tries to threaten her family in any kind of way, she comes at them. There's a comment in here where she's actually going to this architect's office, and she wants him to apologize for something that he's done. And her plan was to have, she says, she wants to leave with his balls in her hand, so no, she's not me.
Elle, any of you in
Okay.
this character?
Oh, that is a good question. I think I've mentioned this in other panels before. I'm going to say the same thing again. When it comes to the main character, I intentionally wrote someone that wasn't me, because I think that's part of the fun, is stepping outside of myself, because I know myself, I'm mundane to me. Other people might not feel that way, but I already know who I am. So I wanted to explore somebody who really was almost the opposite of me. Like Connie with her character, I view my main character, Claire, as very strong. She's very strong-willed and stubborn. She doesn't bend very easily. She lives her life mostly for her family, and she's very selfless in terms of her family. She devotes so much time and her energies to her family. She's very virtuous, and she's one of those people who's not materialistic at all and doesn't really care about money. She's anti-corporate. Not trying to say I'm like money hungry or anything, but I do care about those things. I care about having a certain lifestyle, and she does not care about that at all. But there is one character that I like to think of myself as, and it's her younger sister, Ro. And her younger sister, Ro, is very goofy and has this wacky, dirty sense of humor. And that's more of me. She knows all about celebrities. She loves gossip columns. She's a little more materialistic. So that's a little bit more me. So
Okay. So
yeah.
you're in there. You're just not the main character.
No.
Okay. Robin?
I would say Kennedy, she's an ER doctor, and I've always wanted to write a doctor. And I always say in my next life, I'm going to be a doctor. I do work also in the medical field, so I have some medical background for my day job. So there's little bits and pieces, maybe not of me per se, but real life things that did happen. There's a couple situations that Kennedy helps out with after crashing the wedding, where there's some incidences and she puts on her doctor's hat. And the two incidences that she helps with, actually one occurred to my husband and one occurred to me. So I put a little real life in there, sort of scenarios, but and I'd like to think I'm caring like she is. She puts caring about others above all else. But she's a lot different than I am. And that's part of the fun, I think, of writing, right? Is we get to create these characters that are not us at all, but we get to live vicariously through them, which is fun. Yeah.
So all of you have contemporaries out right now. Is that a genre of romance that you read a lot? Like, what's your favorite romance to read? What type of romance is your favorite to read?
I read
Connie?
a lot of sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, Robin. Go ahead.
I read a lot of contemporary, but I love all the genres. I love the romantic suspense. I love paranormal. I love young adult, new adult. So I'm not that picky. I think it's more of what the story's about. But I love all of it. But I probably read contemporary the most. And then outside of that, I do like to read mysteries and some fantasy. One of my favorite all-time authors is Jim Butcher. So I've read all of his Harry Dresden books, and that has nothing to do with romance, but there's always that little tiny bit of romance in there that I love. So.
Okay. Connie?
I read everything and everything but horror. And I said this before, and I really don't care. Yeah, I'm sorry, Stephen King. And I know, but everything I read, whether it's science fiction, fantasy, contemporary, romance, mystery, suspense, has to have a strong romantic element in it. I won't read it. Well, I take that back. There's some mysteries and suspense that I will read without romance. It's not my favorite. If the premise is good, I'll read it, but I prefer having a strong romantic element that runs through the book, no matter what it is.
Okay. Elle?
I started reading. I started out reading romance in the historicals. So I started reading Regency romances, even medieval, Scottish Highlander romances. That was when I was much younger. Yeah. So I mean, I read everything pretty much, and then I moved on from there to paranormal, like J.R. Ward. So I love pretty much all of it. But right as of now, I actually read more of contemporary romance. But I don't really have a hard favorite. And I also do read young adult and other like young adult science fiction, fantasy, things like that. So I pretty much read everything, as long as it's not, the only thing I don't like to read are things that make me cry in like a tragic kind of way. I don't know if you guys ever read, what's that one movie, book, The Kite Runner? That was a really great book. It was fantastic, but my God, it was so sad. I can't ever read anything like that again. But it was good, I have to say.
Now, as you can tell, I find Constance's response like blasphemy. Like, I love her. Just talk about, I had this whole bookshelf that's just Stephen King books, because I discovered him in high school and I've been reading everything he writes ever since, you know. But that said, you read a lot. If you could write, like, what other genre besides what you currently write would you like to write? And it could be another romance genre. Like, you're doing contemporary. What other genre of romance do you think you'd like to try to write? Elle?
For adult romance, I would love to try to write some sort of high fantasy type of romance. Something along the veins of like a retelling of Six of Crows or something like that, but an adult version of it. So I'm trying to write something like that right now. But we'll see, because it's a total different beast than what I'm writing right now. The world building will probably be the death of me, but I'd love to try some sort of high fantasy romance for sure.
Robin?
Probably I'd like to try writing some women's fiction and hope to do that sometime soon. Besides that, you know, like I had mentioned, the Jim Butcher books, I love the, you know, I grew up reading Stephen King constantly. I haven't in a long time, but I grew up and that was it, horror. And I saw every horror movie and all those things. So I kind of like that paranormal element. So maybe something more along those lines, that maybe doesn't focus on a romance. So maybe, I don't know. I'd like to push myself to try to write something different at some point. Yeah.
What about you, Connie?
I have tried, I've written, you know, a lot of different genres. So the only thing that I have not actually tried and would maybe think I'd like to is fantasy. I'm with Ellie. I like, I don't know if it's whether it would be considered epic fantasy, because I don't want to do a Game of Thrones or Wheel of Time or something like that. But I do love a good fantasy, and one with romance in it. So it would be difficult because of the world building, but if I tried, I think that I would definitely like to do it. I'm stumbling because I've tried everything. And that, of course, that fantasy is something I love to read. I don't know how well I would do at writing it.
Okay, that's interesting. So let's talk a little bit about your writing process then. Readers are often curious, like, how do you write? Are you the get up in the morning, write for 4 straight hours or 8 straight hours? Are you a plotter, a pantser? Just talk to your readers a little bit about what your process is like when you write a book. Who's gonna start?
Well, I'll jump in. I'm definitely a morning person. I get up out of bed, walk across the hall, turn the computer on, and I'm ready to go. Later in the evening, my brain is a fog. So, you know, unless I'm on a deadline, I usually restrict my writing to the morning. I'm more of a plotter than I am a pantser. And I guess because I write primarily mystery and suspense, I have to have all of those clues in a certain order, and I have to be able to, plant them and carry them out. And so I can't leave anything to chance and get to the end. Now there are surprises that come up. I've had occasions where I think I know, I've planned who commits the murder, but then when I start writing, something happens and the story kind of takes off in a different direction with another person who's committed the murder. So that's happened occasionally. Definitely a morning person.
Elle, you're not. Does that sound familiar? What's your process like?
Oh yeah. Mine is pretty similar. Okay, I've got to try to condense this down because I could talk for hours about this. But basically there's two different modes. There's the mode where I'm under deadline or under contract. I have a book that I have to write for a publisher. And then there's my other book that I'm just trying to write just because. Now, if it's the one that's under deadline, under a contract, then I really have to make myself organized and set aside time, which is very difficult to do because I do have a full-time job. I work full-time and I have 2 kids who are very active in school and dance and arts and things like that. So the only time I can write is at night. Okay. So I can only write at night after I've done, like, helped them with all their homework, brought them to school and to all their activities. At 10 o'clock, I start writing, and I try to block off 1 to 2 hours to write. And sometimes if I know I can't because I'm too tired, then I'll have to use my lunch break. So I write for like 30 minutes to an hour when I'm drafting. And I do the same thing with the editing process. So I just dedicate a couple hours, an hour or two to that a day. It doesn't seem like a lot of time. It actually doesn't seem like a lot at all. But when you're under that kind of time crunch, then you have to make it work. You have to be very, very efficient with your time. And so I draft, but the thing is, I'm very much a plotter. I tried pantsing one time and it was a complete disaster. And I had to scrap all these words because I had no idea where I was going. I regret that very much. So I plot the whole thing, but it's a very loose outline. I don't put everything, like every single little detail, because when I do that, it stifles my creativity. Because like what Connie was saying, I like writing and discovering. Like I do discovery writing at the same time, because sometimes new things pop up, new things that happen to the character that I didn't know were going to happen. So I think that's part of the really fun and exciting part about writing, because sometimes your story takes you in a different direction or this new place that you never knew it was going to go. So that's what I love about it. So I just do that and then I edit. I use this process. I don't know if anyone's familiar with Susan Denard. She's a fantasy writer. She's very well known for her YA. And she has this newsletter that she sends out about her editing process. It's very, very comprehensive. And it's a great tool to use because it's absolutely 100% free. And it's like this huge course on how to write a novel and how to revise and edit. And it's all 100% free. You just have to subscribe to her newsletter. And it's very involved and kind of heavy, but you can just make it work for you. You know, I mean, there's no one set process. You just kind of do what works for you. Because some people have the time to do all of that stuff and some people don't. I'm under the train of thought that I don't have very much time, so I have to make everything I do very efficient. So yeah, it's stressful, but it's fun.
Good. Glad to hear it's fun, right?
Yeah.
One of the things, like, not just fun to read, it can be fun to write. Robin, what about you?
So I am a total pantser, 100%. I pants my way through every single book. And when I get to the end, I can't believe that I've written a book. Mostly because I love that journey of discovery. And I love letting my characters lead me on this story, which sometimes means, there's days where I just stare at my computer screen because I'm stuck and I don't know what comes next. But thankfully, it always comes to me. So I do work full time too. So at night really is when I get a lot of my writing done. And then sometimes on the weekends. My kids are grown now. So there's a lot of time on the weekends that I'll spend writing in the evenings. And sometimes I'll sneak in some writing during my lunch hour or something during the day. I've tried to get up early in the morning and write. It just doesn't work for me. So it really just kind of fits in where I can. And I'm always thinking about my story. I don't know about you guys, but it's always like going on in my head, and I'm always jotting down little notes or sentences or things that come to me during the day. And I always try to leave off somewhere where I know I can pick right up. So it makes it easier, especially as a pantser.
That's
I agree.
good. Cool.
I
Yeah.
agree. We have a funny story well, my husband and I do, that he can tell there are times in the middle of the night I'm still thinking about that story. And he claims it wakes him up, and he tells me, shut it down over there. So, I'm always thinking, and I guess we always are thinking about the current story that we're writing. Yeah.
Mhm. Well, those are all great answers. I'm going to remind those out there watching that we will be taking questions. So if you have a question, drop it in the YouTube chat, and we'll pass that along. I just want to make sure everybody knows when we get to the questions, though, what's next from you. We don't want to miss that part. So we're going to start with Robin. We'll go to Connie and then Elle. What's next? What can readers expect to come from you next?
So I have another contemporary romance coming out next year. It's the second book. It follows this book. It's my hero's brother, Hunter. So we go back to my small town of Windsong, back to the ranch, but it's a completely different story. But there'll be a lot of the same characters in the story. I'm excited.
Okay, I'm working on 2 books at the same time. One of the characters that was mentioned briefly in this story, I'm working on his story now. And then I'm also working a women's fiction about an ex-military, female military career person who has left the military because of mental health issues. And so it's a little heavier. It's not a light rom-com story.
And Elle.
I've got a couple more contemporary romances in the works. One of them is one of my favorite tropes, which is fake dating. I love fake dating so much, so I'm going to try tackling that one. And then the other one is more of a more serious contemporary romance about a ballet dancer who is injured, and she has to move out of the country to find herself again, and she falls in love with very handsome mayor in the new town that she moved into. So hopefully something good will come of those 2 books.
Good. Okay, I'm going to switch to some questions put in by the readers. Well, this first one comes from Kelly. How do you know when a plot just isn't working and you need to let it go and move on?
Oh, let me answer that, please.
Yes.
Because I have been going through that recently. I was trying to decide which one of the characters from the hookup dilemma that I was going to write about. And I had the male, female main characters, but the chemistry wasn't there. The story, I'm captivated when something just grabs me. And this was not grabbing me. I kept looking at it, kept twisting it around, called my critique partners. They would give me ideas, and it's still I just didn't feel it. That gut feeling was not there. And I thought, and I'm one of these people, I hate to let anything go. I thought, you know what, I may have to put this aside for a while and move on to something else. So yes.
Anybody else? Robin, Elle, have you faced that? Do you have a response for Kelly?
I have, and for me, I mean, I'm fortunate that I can reach out to my editor. But if you don't have an editor yet, I would definitely reach out to your other writer friends. My writer pals have really helped me when I get stuck and something doesn't seem to be working. Getting their point of view and just talking it through with them often leads to a resolution. Or like Connie said, sometimes you do have to let it go and start over and save it. You never know. Something might, you might be able to go back to it and realize what you can put in to make it work. But it really helps to reach out to friends who are also writers that can help you work your way through it.
And Elle, I'm actually going to jump ahead because I want you just to take this question first.
Sure.
Linda wants to know, what advice would you give to someone who's had a 9-to-5 job all their life, but really wants to write a book?
Well, I think I'm a good person to answer that question because that's what I did. Yeah, I mean, it depends on what your goals are. For me personally, okay, it depends on what your goals are. I mean, do you want to quit your 9-to-5 job and become a full-time writer, or do you want to continue to have your full-time job and do the writing as a side hustle to keep yourself motivated and energized creatively? For me, that's the latter. I don't ever see myself quitting my 9-to-5 job because I'm very passionate about it. I'm a nurse practitioner and I love, seeing patients, and it really does fill my soul with a lot of, it really just fills me up basically. So I can't ever quit that job, at least not if they want me, I'll continue to do it. So what happened is that I dedicated myself, or I made a commitment to doing the writing thing as a side hustle. So I had to find a publisher and an agent who was willing to do that with me. And maybe I'm lucky that I was able to do that. It's not an easy thing to do. And you can always get self-published too. But for me, I don't have the bandwidth to be self-published. It takes a lot of hard work because you wear all of the hats and you have to do all of those things. I personally can't do that. So I was very, very fortunate after years in the query trenches and trying to get an agent and get traditionally published that I finally ended it here. But it took a lot of hard work outside of my regular 9-to-5 job. So when I was done with my 9-to-5, I would dedicate an hour or two every single day to doing my research, to researching agents, researching craft, reading a lot of books, entering writing contests, building my community, going on Twitter, trying to connect with other writers, reaching out to existing authors and seeing what they could, what kind of advice they had for me, watching seminars like this. So you're on the right track for sure. It's just a matter of prioritizing and figuring out what you really want. Because the writing thing is a very long game and nothing is guaranteed, unfortunately. So you just have to keep going. You can't give up on it. And you're going to have to find a way to fit that writing into your life. Because if you really are committed and disciplined, it will naturally find a way to fit into your life. That's my advice about that.
Robin, Connie, anything different like that? Robin said
I've self-published 5 other novels. This is my first book with a traditional publisher, and I've been writing for a long time. And I've just recently stopped working, so I was also working full time. And interesting, all of us are all in the medical field. I worked in the clinical laboratory, and so I wrote whenever I could. Sometimes I wrote at work. Sometimes I wrote at lunch, or if I finished before I left, I had some time, then I would write. But it's just something that I always felt compelled to do. So, but my goal, my end game was to leave work and to be a full-time writer. So everybody has a different path, but that was mine.
Yeah, mine's actually the opposite, because when I started writing, I only had a part-time job. So I got to spend a lot more time writing. And then it just so happened this part-time job became more and more and more, and it turned into this wonderful full-time opportunity that I didn't want to pass up. So I have less time to write, but I love what I do for my day job. So it has been a little bit of an adjustment, and it is a challenge. But what both Connie and Elle said is really true, is, just keep at it and carve out that time, and, good luck. My fingers are crossed for you.
yes, all great answers, ladies. Now, Mary wants to know, and I think this is a fabulous question. I want to know this too, Mary. what romance novels are you looking forward to reading next?
Oh, wow.
Mm.
Okay.
I can't wait for Josie Silver's next book. I can't remember what it's called. She was the author of One Day in December and The Two Lives of Lydia Bird, and she has a new book coming out, and I'm very excited to read that.
I've got a lot of them on my to be read pile. I'm currently reading Piper Hughley's current book. I've got today Diana Gabaldon's book, which is, it's a romance, but it's history and fantasy. I've got that for audio. I am also have K.M. Jackson's book, the Keanu Reeves book. So there are too many books.
So all of them, Connie, is what you're saying.
There are too many
All
books.
of them.
So, you know, I listen to audio and I'm reading. So, you know, yeah.
Another fellow Entangled author has a book coming out in January, Samantha Beck, and she is writing this series that takes place in Captivity, Alaska, and it is great. It's so funny, it's super sexy, and she has the second book in that series coming out, and I cannot wait to read that one too. I'm excited.
Cool. Elle, what's on your list?
Well, besides the books from these two wonderful ladies, Robin and Connie, I'm definitely reading theirs. I'm very excited. We'll be reading theirs. I've been wanting to get into dark romance. I'm a big book talker person. I love swimming around in book talk and seeing like different recommendations. So my to be read list is out of control. But I think one of the books that I'm looking forward to reading that has like hit book talk really hard is this book up here. It's called Twisted Love by Anna Huang, and I just heard a lot of good things about it. So I'm looking at that. There's a lot of self-published books that I've been wanting to look into. So that's one of them. And then my fellow Entangled, and yours too, Lisa. I'm really very excited to read that as well.
Well, that sounds good. A lot of good titles on that list. A lot of good titles. And we are getting close to time to wrap up. I'm going to throw out, I'm not on the panel, but one of my favorite Entangled authors is Michelle McLean. And she recently came out with a gunslinger book that is just hilarious. And whether it's historical or contemporary, she makes me laugh. And she's going to do a follow-up to that book that comes out early next year. So I'm looking to read the second book in her gunslinger book. I think it's going to be hilarious. So I had to get a little plug for the historicals. Hi, Adam.
Hi, thank you, all of you, all four. Even though Lisa, you did such a great job moderating, Robin, Connie, Elle. Thank you so much for being a part of this, and Entangled, if you're watching, for letting all of you do this with us. I want to thank everyone out there watching. My question is, and Lisa, please answer this. Where should we follow you? Do Twitter, Instagram, your website? Where can people connect with you? And we'll start with Lisa, since you didn't get to answer any questions.
Well, my website is my name, lisarayne.com. So you can find all things there, including book links for my book. I'm going to plug my book, even though I really didn't get to talk. Never Cross a Highlander, coming in April 2022. And then I'm on Facebook, and my Facebook, Instagram handles are the same, at author Rayne, my last name, Rayne. So those are the best places to connect with me.
Robin, where can we find you?
Same, my website has everything, robinbielman.com. And then I'm on Instagram at Robin_Bielman. I'm not on Facebook all that much, and Twitter, but if you go to my website, all my links are there and it's all under my name.
And how about you, Connie? Where can we find you?
I'm on Facebook as Constance Gillam, or author Constance Gillam. I am on Twitter, not very much, but I'm there at Connie Gillam. And then my handle on Instagram is author lady 514. I had to check that because It's not my name. So,
Why?
yeah, hold on. Everything is so slow for me today.
I feel you.
Yeah.
And while she's
Yeah,
checking
author-
Elle,
Lady 514.
perfect. And Elle, where can we find you?
I'll just make it basic for everyone and just direct you to my website. It has pretty much all my information. It's very easy. ellecruz.com, ELLECRUZ.com. And it has my my link to my Instagram account and TikTok and Twitter. I'm not on Facebook a whole lot yet. I'm still trying to build up that platform for my author profile, but basically the website will direct you to where I am. I'm active on Instagram and TikTok.
Perfect. And yeah, go ahead.
Adam, I'm sorry. I do have a website, and it's ConstanceGillam.com, if I didn't mention that.
Now we have it. Tattered Cover is all over the place. I think like we're Tattered Cover on Instagram, Tattered Cover Bookstore on Twitter. So there's a slight difference, but tatteredcover.com, where you can get all of their books, including Lisa's upcoming one. Thank you, all of you, for talking about your books. I hope everyone enjoyed this tonight. Thank you, virtual people, tatteredcover.com. And thank you, four ladies. This was amazing.
Thank you.
very much.
Thank you. It was a pleasure. It was fun. Thank you.
And thank you, Lisa.